I'm going to clear my throat, too.
I just drank a giant glass of milk before I came in here, and that was a mistake.
Oh, God. That sounds terrible.
Right?
Hit it.
They're here.
Don't cross the streams.
Bueller.
I'll have what she's having.
Great Scott!
Why did it have to be snakes?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Bueller.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
I'll be back.
I am your father.
Bueller.
I feel the need. Grenade for speed.
It's showtime.
Hello.
Hello there.
How are you today, my sister?
My heater went out.
Yeah? Tell me about it. What's up?
These units are slowly kind of falling apart, and we just replaced the water heater, which was leaking like last week, and we had septic issues for a million years, finally got all that fixed, and now the heater itself went out. But we have a gas fireplace, and so our house just smells like gas. Don't worry, we have a carbon monoxide alarm.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So now it's just it's just cold, but we have a gas fireplace, we have a million blankets, and we have space heaters, and we're fine, but I'm still cold. How are you? What's going on with you?
Yeah, I'm good. School starts tomorrow.
Oh, yay.
Woo-hoo. So Asher's going back to school. I cannot wait. It's been a long winter break. It's been a long season. But yeah, I'm excited for that. And yeah, we had our holidays. So it's the new year.
Oh yeah, Happy New Year to everybody.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Yeah, to everybody listening. We are recording these episodes like 1 to 2 weeks in advance just because reasons and time management and all the kind of stuff that we have to deal with. But so yeah, it was just New Year's for us. Happy New Year.
So you'll hear this in about 2 weeks or so. But yes, so New Year, new you. We made it.
We made
Happy
it.
2022.
We made it, but rest in peace, Betty White.
Oh my gosh, that's still too fresh.
I know.
Even 2 weeks from now, that's going to be too fresh.
I know. I know. Anyway.
Besides, celebrating Betty White, the new year.
Yeah, no, we did not celebrate the new year. We celebrated Betty White.
You would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say thank you for being a friend.
I am very excited to talk about this because it was surprising.
Oh my.
Since we did not talk, or we haven't seen it or even heard about it.
Yeah, I feel like the most sheltered white person. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, you might be one in the top 5%. We're pretty sheltered. I get it.
We're pretty sheltered. I'm not gonna lie.
And things move so fast these days.
Oh yeah.
So
yes.
By the way, everyone, we forgot to say it's Beat Street.
Beat Street Breakdown!
Oh yeah, by the way, hey, I guess we're jumping into the movie, huh?
Well, whoops. Well, that's why we're here.
That's why we're here. Hey, we welcome back to the Silver Screen Sisters. I don't even think we said that part. We just got excited to talk to each other about this movie, which is Beat Street. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I'll give my rating at the end, and I have, thoughts. But that's why we are going to talk about it.
Yes. Let's start with, when did you watch it?
This morning!
I watched half of it last night and half of it this morning.
Oh, that must have been fun.
Well, I'm older now. I can't make it past 10.
Yeah, I feel that.
It's just how it is.
Yep.
Which is why this movie was so fun.
Yes.
Brought me back to my younger days and all the stuff we would get into.
The first moment it started, with the first, my first note that I took about this movie was, I'm digging it. I really was into it.
You were going to say you really dug it.
I really dug it. Or whatever. It was so fresh. It was so fresh.
I did look at reviews this time.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of looked around.
And did you look at the history and all that kind of stuff or any of that? Or what did you look at?
I kind of just first started with reviews because it's on Amazon Prime. For those who are listening, it was on Amazon Prime, if it's not there now. But that's where I watched it. And so the reviews on Prime, it was saying a lot of people felt nostalgic. They remember the 80s in New York. So it was definitely a feel. Overall rating was like 6 out of 10.
I browsed a little bit on IMDb because I was recognizing some of the faces, and I noticed that the critic reviews were pretty low, but the audience reviews was like 89%. I was like, okay.
I'm surprised you didn't bring up the music. That's the first thing you go to.
Well, see, this whole movie is music, so I was kind of biding my time. Otherwise, I'm going to be talking for like 25 minutes straight about just music, and nobody wants to hear that.
I remember listening to 80s music, but it was more like classic rock or whatever. I didn't listen to a lot of hip hop. All I could think about was Salt and Pepper.
Salt and Pepper.
And
Pepper.
Was Queen Latifah, was she 80s too, or was she more 90s?
Don't ask me. I don't know.
Okay, so that's about where I stand.
Robert and I watched a couple of documentaries. One was like a CNN show that they made about TV in general, and they went through TV through the decades. And so there was a lot of really interesting information in the 80s that I learned, and I feel like it really applies to this movie. And it also gave me a lot of history on New York, specifically the Bronx in the 80s. And there was another documentary I watched at some point, and God, I cannot remember what it is, but I recognized the Bronx right away because of the graffiti trains, specifically the graffiti trains, because that was just the thing. It was a culture, a whole movement. There was the hip hop and all of it. And so I'm going to have to find that documentary because I can't remember what it was.
Yes, and send it to me and we should link it. I didn't know any history. I'm probably going to get shit for this. I'm sorry, guys. But I went to, because we were, sheltered, I thought of Sister Act 2.
I know, right?
That's how it kind of felt for me, like that defiance kind of feel. One's going to be a DJ. The other one's going to be a graffiti artist. In fact, he was like, I am an artist.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, he definitely, there was like the quote right from the beginning where he tagged on the side of the wall that said, "If art is crime, may God forgive me." I loved that. So we do come from a very, a foundation of a pretty sheltered worldview. We did actually live in South Korea for half a second, and our eyes were very much opened on a lot of levels. And our parents, I think, did a pretty good job of opening our eyes to some things as well. But I think college is where we really started thinking about how the rest of the world actually works. So, disclaimer, if we do say something that maybe doesn't sit right with you, please feel free to email us. We don't want to be incorrect. We want to own our mistakes, and we want to make sure that we are communicating accurate information, correct, fair information. So when we go into, I just wanted to say that because we're going to be talking about an 80s movie that I feel is a very strong and beautiful representation of Black culture. And there was a huge movement in the 80s of Black culture films, TV, music, dance, art, all of that. And unfortunately in the 90s, it was suppressed again quite a bit. Again, I think that was talked about in that CNN TV's show. So yeah, I guess that was kind of a long disclaimer, but I'm one of those people that I just don't want to offend anybody. We do not want to offend anybody on this podcast. And please reach out to us if you feel offended, if you feel that we were incorrect. We will go back and we will correct things. We will address things as they come up. We promise. Okay, that's enough.
All right, we will address things as needed.
Sorry. I just started watching this movie and I thought I am so unqualified to talk about any of this, but, well, if we're here.
So it's funny because you went to college and I went to Reno and that was a big difference.
Yeah.
So I got a year and a half of my teens in Reno. It was real fun, guys.
Oh my God.
Had a blast. And definitely more culture in a big city compared to a small town.
But I love it that you moved to Reno and then you were just like, yeah, you got to experience all of that. You got to be the rebel. You got to like get into the culture of a city. I just love that you lived.
I had my fun.
Yeah, you had your fun.
Now I want to be in bed by 8.
Yeah, right?
In my 30s.
Yes.
I wasn't that crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we should actually like talk about the movie.
Yes. Let's do it.
One thing I noticed right away was like how authentic everything felt. Like it was really down and dirty. It was, you know, dirty shoes. They were making their own clothes. Everything was just grungy, which I guess was the aesthetic. And plus, you know, New York City in the 80s was a hard time.
There's so many people in New York. I want to go visit, but like, I don't know what I'd do around people. I'd visit to see the park and then I'll go home. That's about it.
Yeah, no.
That's all I want to see.
Yeah, no way. I don't think I could survive in New York or go anywhere in New York. I have a hard enough time going into Seattle. Anyway.
Well, all these kids at the beginning of the movie, all these kids were getting ready to go out. Oh, also, how old were these kids?
I don't know. I feel like they were young adults.
Right. Like, were they 20, just not moving out of the house yet? Because Lee was younger. Why wasn't Lee in school more?
Why wasn't Lee in school? Well, okay, this took place around Christmas time, so maybe it was break.
So what, you think they're all in school in the Bronx?
I don't know.
Oh, for the little one.
Oh, and, you know, it also could be just weekends, but man, their sleep schedule's messed up, dude. Sleeping during the day, partying at night, like,
Dude, you never did that in your young adulthood?
Oh, yeah, of course I did. But as a 36-year-old...
So those kids must be...
They must
20s,
be early 20s, maybe 18
latest.
or 19. Maybe they're just done with school or whatever, but I don't know.
I mean, one of them, the main guy, Kenny, he was like, I might find me a female.
I know.
So they're old enough to go find girls.
Yeah. Oh, God. And then I really felt like all of the characters were really likable. What did you think?
Yes. My favorite was, of course, the mother.
Oh.
Not a main character, but she, you know, has an important role.
I literally wrote down that the mom is my favorite on my notes somewhere because she was one of those moms that could just say something. In fact, I wrote down a quote of hers.
What's the big deal about eating oatmeal? And all I feel is tired for real. Is my rap too slick, my tongue too quick, my gallant talent like a magic trick?
Eat your eggs before I break your legs.
Oh, yeah, because Kenny was doing his rapping.
Yeah.
And she went right back in.
She went
oh
right
my God.
back in.
You know that mama was out in the clubs hanging out with the rappers back in her day.
Yeah.
If she
well,
could be that
in her day, it would have
witty.
been like 60s. What? I don't know. Yeah.
Same thing. She was in the in crowd.
She was in the in crowd.
That's what I think. She was more hip than her sons think she is. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. I feel like she was the, quote, voice of reason for the movie. She obviously wants to support her sons and what they are doing, but she's also kind of like, whoa, pump the brakes. So she wanted to make sure her boys were being safe. At the same time, she wants to make sure that they are also living their dreams in some way. I feel like that was a really sweet balance of her. That's why she was my favorite, because she could literally like whisper, get to your room, and you know that you're in deep shit.
Yes, that is true. I love Mama.
And then like, but you know, some of the characters, they were very likable characters. All of them, I think, were very likable characters, but like their character development really didn't go anywhere. The only character that actually grew in this movie to me was Ramo. Everybody else was just like...
How did you say his name?
Ramo.
Isn't it Ramon?
No, it's just Ramo.
With an N?
I thought it was Ramon too, but then like all of his signatures... all of his artwork, and then I started listening at the very end during the celebration, and there it's all Ramo.
And if you knew my man when he was alive, screaming out to say, Ramon! Ramon!
Which is stupid because it says Ramon on the IMDb
Oh,
page.
no, that's funny. Okay, so maybe it is Ramon. Who knows?
Are you wrong or are they
or
wrong?
maybe Ramo is just like a nickname.
His short name.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, we meet, of course, Kenny and his little brother, Lee, and then Ramo.
Ramo.
I'm not sure now.
We'll just call it Ramon. It's fine.
And then Charlie, which I thought was Charlie, but it legit is Charlie. And then there was another guy, and then the guy they meet playing the drums,
Yes.
right?
And then the army dude. Was that the drum guy? Yeah.
That was the drum guy. Did we ever get his name?
I didn't pick it up. I just called him army dude.
Okay. Let's... No, it's so funny, but let's go back to because we meet the friends and they leave Kenny's house because they're all at Kenny's house during the day, but then it becomes night scene and they find a party to go into. And I have some things to say about that.
Okay. I'm ready.
I wrote notes. Ooh, and another little fun fact. Did you know that they hired a graffiti consultant because all the graffiti they did, they were stenciled on, not real art. Or not real graffiti placement. So I thought that was interesting. So anyways, everyone gets together at the first party. When they go up, this one kid climbs a pole to turn on the lights. I know someone that went to land school.
Yeah.
You don't just climb up a pole and be safe. As you find out later in this movie about electricity, you're just not safe. So he was apparently good at that. And then they had, now here's a funky beat, the scratch beats. I really did enjoy him DJing it up. It did turn really fun.
Now here's a funky beat. Now here's a scratch beat.
So, let's see, our second episode, when we were talking about Little Shop of Horrors, I made a comment about how the movie opens up with this giant synthesizer noise. And I was like, oh God, because it was the 80s and synthesizers. But I will say that the hip hop culture did the right thing with synthesizers. They used it.
They did it right. Okay.
They used it more as a percussive instrument as opposed to strings. So it gets a little confusing because synthesizers are designed to be like a piano in a way. And a piano is both a percussive instrument and a melodic string instrument in some ways. You can be very melodic on that piano and it sounds beautiful, and it can be very percussion-y, and I totally just made up that word. But, with synthesizers, it doesn't work the same. It doesn't sound the same. And maybe it's just me and my ears, but I love hearing synthesizers as a more percussive type of instrument as opposed to melodic strings, like in Little Shop. But yeah, I just loved all of the music, every single bit of music, except for the slow songs, but we'll get there. I just thought the music was just, it was amazing. Chef's kiss.
Also, something on the music for its time, they had the Grandmaster, Mel and the Furious-5.
Yes.
So apparently they were very big in the 80s.
Yeah, they had so many groups come in. Yeah.
Somebody's probably listening right now and they're like, yeah, of course he was. Or they were, because it's lots of people. But I had no idea. And they were a big drive. This movie actually, this is our third movie now. I am so glad we're doing this because this movie completely just blew me out of the water. And I would have never picked this. And it's actually pretty great. And I'm really glad I watched it. And I never would have picked this. And I feel enlightened. And as much as I did love it too, it is an 80s movie, so there are some things that
there are definitely flaws.
You can't see as, since we're decades down the road, I can't see it with fresh eyes. So some things are hilarious because, special effects or other things now that I can reference to.
I'll bring some of that up as well for sure. I just felt all of the talent in this movie, the singing, the dancing, the artwork, just so much of it was pure talent. And it was a joy. I'll probably watch it again just for that. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself.
No worries. We're all over the place.
Did you notice that the house, they talked about how that house had been torched 3 times by the landlord?
Yes. When they found the drummer guy in the basement, that's how we found out, because this drummer guy was trying to find Tito, but I haven't found his name yet. And there's no pictures in half of these on IMDb. But It sounded like they knew Tito when they were saying Tito's not here anymore. It's been torched 3 times.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, I guess I'm in your group now.
Yeah.
He was supposed to find this Tito guy and start a band. Yeah. And did he just give up after that? That was a plot hole.
But it is the Bronx in the 80s in New York. They were in a lot of danger. So I wonder if by saying that Tito's not here anymore, like either he did move on, which I'm hoping he did, or maybe he met the same fate as Kenny's big brother.
They
kind of glossed over it, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. This whole movie does go over how gangs have broken up and how people are now doing like graffiti or dance and art, and it's not as bad as it was on the streets. Yeah. But people are still doing things that the adults would say are still not acceptable.
Yes, the documentary that I watched talked about how the trains specifically were completely just drawn all over all the time, and it would take so many taxpayers' dollars to repaint over them over and over and over again just for them to get tagged again or have the artwork all over him again. And it's interesting because on one hand, I can see both sides. It's a form of expression. It's art. But it is damaging. It could actually damage the...
It is against the law, which hurts me because I am all about the law, but also some laws are stupid, but this law is a good law. I'm sorry, it's not your property.
Yes. But at the same time, like you look back on it and you see it, like you see images of those trains in the 80s and you just go, yes, it was gorgeous.
They look cool.
Gorgeous. Absolutely. I liked how the movie itself was told from the frame of reference of them and not an adult who would have been bogged down by all of the bad things of the Bronx. And I thought that was really cool. It gave it a much more hopeful, dreamy, I'm going to follow my dreams, and why they are hanging on to their dreams so hard.
Right.
So, anyway.
And if you dig where we're coming from, say yeah!
Yeah!
Did you like their dance-off at the party?
Yes!
It was fun, but all I could think of, please don't get mad, you or listeners, but all I could think of was the movie White Chicks and the Wayne brothers just scolding the cheerleaders by doing all the breakdancing.
Yeah.
And so, because it's an 80s movie, I can't unsee the White Chicks. So I had some laughs with that.
Yeah. I was just looking at it as a form of art and expression and just, oh my God, just the physical demands on the body.
I know you hookers don't think this is over with. Let's kick it old school.
Dude, I was like, how can they do that? Jumping back and forth.
Yeah. How can they do that? I mean, I can't even get out of bed without hurting my hand.
Watching this movie, I'm like, oh God, thank God it hasn't been like, it's not 10 years ago, because I would be all about staying up till like 2 or 3.
Oh, yeah.
But now I'm just like, God, this hurts. I don't want to do this anymore. Give me a martini and give me a cab.
Right. Jesus.
But I like that. Like with the hip hop, that's another thing I was comparing because it's different these days. You know, it's definitely wittier. Or not wittier, like faster in a sense. I feel like there's always something to top.
Yes. Every art form, there's always going to be growth in the art form. Like just look at like art itself. Like you look at old Renaissance paintings, you're just like, whoa, like those look a little rough. But then you look at something that somebody made today using a photograph and some crazy brushes on the computer, or they actually can draw with a pencil something super hyper realistic art.
Right.
And it's just like mind boggling. And it's the same, I think, with the evolution of hip hop.
I never knew art till I saw your face, that there'll never be one to take your place. Cause each and every time you touch a spray paint can, Michelangelo's soul controls your hands.
So yeah, a lot happened in the beginning with this party. I did notice, I want to tell you right now, they were, as they say, quote, bombing a train, unquote. I had no idea that's what they called it.
Oh, God.
Did you notice that?
I did not. Oh.
That's not what I was going to say. I was going to say when they were looking around and they ended up tagging a train and leaving, it was like scary music,
yes.
but it was with like the shake of a spray can. I laughed at that. It was so great because it was scary. And I was like, is that a can? It was so great.
Get on the train!
You know, after watching the entire movie I felt was just very lopsided in the pacing. The pacing was all off. There was way too much information in the beginning that was crammed on in.
And some of the stories did not get fulfilled.
Yeah. And then the middle was very slow and saggy. And then the end was just like this.
Slow and saggy.
Yeah, slow and
gross.
saggy.
Well, the end, it was more, I think, the name of all these people in the hip-hop culture.
Yes.
So it was, for the time, made sense.
Yes. So if you're going to watch this movie for the plot, yeah. Okay, where are we?
Well, let's see here. After party, they wake up at mom's house. That's where she says that awesome line. Eat your eggs before I break your legs.
Yeah, I love her.
Charlie comes over to pick up the boys, and they get Ramon.
And he has
what else?
the Roxy's tickets. That's what he came over and he was like, here, I got tickets to go to Roxy's. And their mom is like, excuse me.
I mean, she wasn't really that way, was she?
She was more, she was supportive, but she was also very, like, mama bearish about her younger son going. Because she really doesn't want her boys. She already lost one son, so she's protective of the other two, which I felt like she was actually very lenient in some ways.
Relaxed. Yeah, she did say something like, it's okay to have your dreams, but have something to fall back on, which I thought was actually good advice. Instead of being like, your dreams are stupid or whatnot. It's like the dad. Good call, Mom.
Like Ramon's dad.
Yes. Because he does not see graffiti art as art.
No, he just decides to throw cans at his son, which the fuck?
I was wondering what was happening there at first.
I was so confused.
I was like, is he throwing beer cans?
Yeah. And then the boys, the sweet boys, they just pick up the cans and stuff them in their bags because they didn't want to leave litter on the ground. Like, how cute is that?
Is it litter or is it his work equipment?
I don't know. Oh, shit, I don't know.
Because if there's paint in it.
I thought they were beer cans.
No, I think they were
cans.
Like the spray paint.
Okay, maybe I just walk. Okay, never mind. Let me scratch that. Shit.
Maybe you were drunk. Did you have mimosas this morning?
I didn't do nothing this morning. Okay, so now we meet the quote-unquote rich girl, Tracy. And side note, I absolutely need a pair of those leopard print tights, please and thank you.
I have a pair.
What?
So, do you know who her dad is?
Wait. No.
So her name is Ray Don Chong.
You're not talking about like Cheech and Chong.
Yes.
No. Are you serious?
That's her father.
That's her dad? Oh my goodness.
I know.
Robert did say that he recognized her, and I guess she was in Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I'm sure that's on our list of things to watch, so we'll probably see her again.
I got another fun fact for you about her.
I'm ready.
She is the one who discovered Chris Pratt.
No.
Apparently, yeah, in a restaurant in Hawaii.
Oh, man. Well, I do know that Chris Pratt was discovered in a restaurant in Hawaii. I just didn't know it was her.
Yeah, it was her.
Ah. Okay.
But I thought you would like that trivia. So we meet Tracy. Because she not digging Kenny, who's digging her, but she digging Lee.
She's digging Lee.
Because of his killer dance moves.
Personally, I really liked how they were all breakdancing on the subway on their way to Roxy, and they were just having so much fun. But then there was like this older grandma in the corner of the screen, and she's just like staring at all of them like, what are you doing?
Which I've seen, there's some sort of video going around now where this older lady's in her car and she's like, roll down the window, and this guy's like got hip hop playing and she's like, turn it up.
Turn it
like
way
I want to
up.
hear it. Yeah. And she starts dancing in her car.
Hell yeah.
This granny did not feel this way in the movie. I mean, Gemini life, man. Depends on how I feel. Depends on the day.
Yeah.
I might be like, what are you doing here? I might dance with you. Who knows?
Well, I'm a Capricorn, so I don't have that excuse. So the movie was setting up the Tracy and Kenny trope, like that trope of, you know, wrong side of the tracks versus rich girl versus, you know, all that kind of stuff. But then it just didn't go anywhere. Like their romance or their whatever, it didn't go anywhere. So I'm like, okay, I guess it's not that kind of a movie. If you're looking at this movie in the very beginning, you're watching it and you're like, oh, it's going to be a rom-com. No, it's not a rom-com. And
there's nothing comical about it unless you think white girls when they're breakdancing. That's where I went wrong.
Fair.
So I meant white chicks. My bad. White chicks. I noticed in this movie the gender roles. Like a lot.
Ooh.
Like the women definitely had a feel to them compared to the men.
Oh, yeah.
It was very, like, I like today. Like, you can be whatever you want. You don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to wear a dress. You don't have to wear pants. You should wear something, though, you know.
Yes.
You can be addressed as they or them.
Right.
Like, I think it doesn't confine you in a box. So. So that's just something I noticed as an older movie and how gender is very specific in the 80s. From this point of view in a movie.
Yes. I absolutely loved the group that was playing on the stage during that whole moment. They were called the I'm just totally going to ruin this, but I'm going to try my best. The afrikabambaataa&the soulsonicforce and Shango. I love them. They were great. They were amazing. I absolutely loved the dancing. One of the guys in that group had a pair of leggings on that was shiny metallic purple on one side and leopard print on the other side. And I was like, yeah, I need those, please. But there was so much happening during this part. And then there was even like the quote unquote turf war breakdancing part. Even at the Roxy, they just like, they're having so much fun dancing with each other. They're competing, obviously, but they're having fun with it and they're playing off of each other, which in art, it always should be like this. I think many people in art get way too competitive. And yeah, you can be competitive and you can always be pushing yourself more and more and more to improve your craft. But like, don't forget that you're having fun with this and that there can be an interplay between you and other artists. And like, just enjoy it. Enjoy art for art's sake. And I really thought they did a really good job representing that kind of camaraderie, even though it felt like they were totally like the Jets versus the Sharks in West Side Story or whatever. It was really cute. Anyway.
Fun fact, though, I never saw West Side Story.
What?
I know. I never paid attention when we were younger. Didn't care for it. And they're remaking it, so I have to watch the old one before I watch the new one. After that awesome party, Tracy got Lee's digits, and then that's where it starts up. Again, where are we going in this movie? I don't know.
We're 25 minutes into this movie, and we're just like, what the fuck is happening? But the art is amazing, so we keep watching it.
So Lee goes and meets Tracy, and she's a conductor. What's the name?
Yeah, conductor or composer.
Composer, thank you. So she's like working with all these dancers, all these musicians, and doing the 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of thing with her hand.
And doing it accurately and really well, I might say. Anyway, continue.
I was going to say, you probably noticed she wasn't half bad.
Yeah.
And so they come in, Kenny and Lee, and some other friends, and they watch Lee dance.
Yeah.
Everybody there watches him dance. But the whole thing was he couldn't watch the tape that they recorded him with, and he couldn't dance with them because it's a school. So there was really no point to bring him except for taking his moves, and that's what Kenny thought. So he spoke up real quick. And I wrote down a quote, kind of a quote. Big Brother was on it, yada yada.
I mean, lady, y'all be showing people how you down with breaking, and that's bullshit because you ain't down with nothing. You just like all the biters. They just take a bite and leave the rest.
It was very dramatic.
You know what? I felt that was fair. Now, I don't think she intentionally meant to appropriate or exploit their craft or their art. I think as a composer, she's very much the same as Kenny, where she takes bits and pieces from every little thing and melds them together. And I think she wanted her dancers to see a live example of hip-hop dancing. And I think that Kenny and Lee, specifically Lee, were misled and taken advantage of. Notice that she never actually said verbatim what she had told Lee, and Lee never confirmed or denied exactly what she told him. Plus, they were in the middle of a frickin' dance floor.
And I guess we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know. But I felt like that reaction was fair. Absolutely fair. And I think it also demonstrated, even back in the 80s, and still happening today, unfortunately, how we just keep taking from other cultures. Anyway, I don't want to get too dark on this. Please interrupt me.
You're going on the dark road. But also, I did notice that you were speaking highly of people still, like, checking the big white dude. They didn't check Lee for his ID, did
no,
they?
They did not.
How is he in that club? How is he in that club? He is underage.
I know.
Regardless if he's entertainment or
I
not.
know. Well, the only thing I can think of is that was Roxy's just a dance club, and maybe it didn't have any alcohol in it. I have no idea. I didn't see any.
In the Bronx.
I know. I didn't see any, though.
In New York? I mean, I feel like New York cities have booze. I don't think it was that innocent.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, anyway.
Anywho's. She does come back around to go see Kenny and Lee. Lee's not there. Kenny's like, what you want? And they break the ice somehow, and you find out Kenny stole one of her pieces.
Oh, yeah. Well, sampled.
He's playing music, and she's like, that's my piece. I composed that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of broke the ice of, okay, like, we're not stealing anything on both sides. We're working together.
Yes. And I think that was a very important thing. Because if you think about it, actually, light bulb, that's what's happening this entire movie. The first fight during the first party, they were accusing each other of stealing each other's dance moves. And then Kenny is now accusing Tracy of stealing Lee's dance moves. And now Tracy's in Kenny's room, and he's like showing her his music, and she's like, that's my music.
And Tracy's also watching his dance moves.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't want to steal those, but he was like shaking his butt and stuff. It was kind of cute.
It was cute. But yeah, dancing, art, music, especially music, we are always sampling from each other with music. It's very popular, especially in jazz, to quote other musicians. Anyway, then we have this like segue into Ramon's life where, yeah, he just shows up at a random apartment and starts kissing this girl who, did you catch her name? I didn't catch her name.
It's Carmen.
Carmen. Beautiful lady. Beautiful woman. But she's living at home with a bunch of kids with her mom, and it's crazy. And her mom is obviously pissed at Ramon for not stepping up.
Because she has a baby of her own. Was it not implied it was not his? Because she was like, why would you even show your face around here? Did you not notice that? And then at the end scene?
Well, I thought she said that he was the dad, and the reason why the mom was so pissed was because he just has not been around. Like even Carmen said at the beginning, man, I haven't heard from you all week, quote unquote.
Right.
That's a long ass time.
But anyways, we do go on that little number for a minute, so we see what's going on in Ramon's life, but then we go back to finding Lee. Kenny's like, do you want to do something dangerous?
Oh yeah, to Tracy. That was cute.
So this is where we find out the subway, you can walk in between at night. Apparently they run 16 minutes apart.
Oh, back in the 80s.
And only one side will kill you with the electricity, but the other side has none. So they go floundering around and they find them all graffitiing Ramon, Lee, the rest of the crew. Mm-hmm. I can't remember what they were talking about, but as they leave, you see that somebody's hiding in the shadows.
But then we see, like, as they're running away, that it's just this random guy who we all assume is, what was it? Spit.
It's Spit, who's been vandalizing the vandalism.
Yes.
Let's just take a moment to think about that. He's making beautiful vandalism and then making it crappy.
Yes.
So nobody liked him. In fact, nobody cared about him at the end. So there's that.
We still didn't know anything about him by the end, other than
So, anyways, they bounced.
Yes, they ran.
So some more foreshadowing.
Okay, so next little part, and this was the moment where I went, yeah, this is still an 80s movie. Kenny and Tracy break off and go their separate ways from everybody else. And suddenly this random ass slow song about romance and stuff starts playing while they're futzing around while he's taking her back to her place. And I'm like, this music doesn't fit the entire movie at all. It just doesn't. And it was crap. That whole part was crap.
I want to know from the viewers who have seen this movie, if you have, or go watch it and tell us what you think. Because,
please.
Yes, this part, they were also talking about Kenny's older brother, how he passed.
Yeah.
Again, gang related. So the romance doesn't even fit, but they walk all night apparently.
Mm-hmm.
He gives her a kiss, goodnight, goes home. It's daylight, and Charlie is in his bed.
Is in Kenny's bed.
I don't know why he's there. I don't know why. I don't think his mom let him in.
Well, maybe he crashed there with Lee. Because Lee was in the room too, yeah.
That's right. But yeah, he's talking about getting Kenny a way to see this record guy or whatever.
Or
this main dude.
He said that he has an opportunity to DJ at the Burning Spear, which is headlined by some big hip-hop guy whose name I cannot remember, and I'm probably going to get crucified about over.
Oh, it's that part. Okay, because the guy hurt his fingers. His kid hurt his fingers, so it was time for Kenny to show it how it's done. Be the featured DJ.
So this was the opportunity for Kenny to show how amazing he is as being a musician and a composer, a hip-hop artist. Right in time for Christmas.
That's right. It's also the Christmas number.
Yes.
I have a very naive question. Okay. I guess I could have Wikipedia'd this. But they were saying Dougie. So there's a song, Teach Me How to Dougie, right?
Yes,
how long has the Dougie been around? Because I thought that was a newer dance, but maybe it's something that's been around and that song's just new. I will Google it later.
Yeah. If anybody wants to tell us.
That works fine too.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I would assume. I mean, if you think about it, there are terms that were created in the 80s, like beatboxing, which was amazing. This kid during this section was doing beatboxing through a freaking curtain.
It's only amazing unless you have to hear it every day of your life. Then it gets old.
You
just remember this.
You are the one with the toddlers, so yes.
So, the screaming, whistling, beatboxing, it all gets old. But yeah, and Kenny did good because he was like, I'm free next weekend. The guy was like, no, you're not.
Yeah, that was awesome.
You're here.
Yeah.
So he's already stepping up.
Yep.
And this was a good part where it was showing everyone being like, hey, you got here. Now stay comfy. Don't change anything about you. You've made it this far. And then, of course, in the movie, he progresses and things keep changing.
Such
like
life.
The only thing that's the same is change. Moving on. Where are we?
Okay, so
where would this be? Is this the middle section?
Yeah, this was the saggy middle where, very quickly, we get a little snapshot of Kenny Kenny seeing Tracy hug this other guy, which is, what the fuck?
I thought her father.
That's what I thought too.
My brain went to, Kenny's mad at the end of the movie. She'll be like, oh, that's my father. Yeah. And it never addressed it again.
Never addressed it. Big old hole right there. And then we also move on to seeing Ramon stepping up as a father. I guess he goes and actually has a conversation with his dad earlier, and he's like, okay. And so he gets a job. He makes it work in that burnt up building.
Right. So he gets his job. He talks to Kenny about, job. It'll be better when I'm not night shift, job by day, graffiti at night. It all works out. They had a beautiful conversation about still going after what makes you feel alive.
Yes.
So I really enjoyed that.
Which we're both doing. I'm writing, you're doing photography, and I don't know why we decided to start this podcast, but here we are.
It's something to do. Like, it's a good time to actually take time and talk.
Yes.
So we can talk about just more than just this too, you know. It keeps us close.
Yes. And I really do like the perspective these movies are giving me now.
Mm-hmm. We need to be cultured anyways. And 80s is a huge culture we missed. So basically, Kenny got the job as a DJ. Charlie set up an audition time with this other main guy, but how Charlie does it, he had his poker face on. It was very rough.
Yeah.
I had a feeling he wasn't going to make it, but he basically took this talented whoever who decides if you're good talent or not. And he was like, I got a guy, and this club, he's playing there, and really like got him with the bait.
Yeah, he did.
And then he was like, I do want to see him. And Charlie was like, you can see him Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And as he leaves, he's like, be cool.
Yeah.
I feel that in life.
So then the manager does show up.
Yes.
And which I thought was pretty awesome.
Loves it.
You know, this whole movie, there's so many parts where you think, oh, that's going to go wrong. Oh, that's going to go wrong. Oh, that's going to go wrong. But it all worked out for the most part.
A lot of it did go right, except for the one thing at the end that we'll talk about. If you're still listening and have no idea, go watch the movie. Why do we have to spoil it for you? Come on now.
Because we're entertaining and maybe they don't want to watch the movie.
Maybe.
In which case...
I mean, I like Cliff Notes. It's fine. I won't be mad.
Okay. So after that, we see Lee dancing with a whole lot of people in the subway station, and the cops come in and break up the party, and suddenly poor little Lee, who's like 12 years old, is arrested for dancing. The fuck?
Yes. I mean, it was aggressive standoff, but at the same time, not that aggressive. Yeah. Nobody was throwing punches or anything.
They were having fun in some ways. Yeah, they were all dancing with each other.
There is one point to that I must bring up is... Now, I don't really remember, or I don't know how things change, but as a police officer, if somebody runs, that's a thing.
That is a thing.
If they didn't run, it could have been different. So, it could have been a million reasons why. But it is BS for arresting them for dancing. Yeah. That is 100% true. I did like how Mama Bear, when she picked up Lee, he was all talking back like, I was just dancing, and she was like, you better not talk, boy. But then like looks at the cop and was, they were just dancing, they could have been doing other things. Like maybe you should blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I can't really remember what
she schooled him. She was like, you are too young to be talking to me or giving me advice, which I thought was hilarious because accurate.
Yeah, go mom.
And then we move on to Kenny. So Tracy brings Kenny into a studio to play around with their equipment and their technology, and he proceeds to just break it already.
He fucks that shit up.
It up hard.
No, I think he was just doing too much too fast. But my thing is, I know she just met this guy, and he does have killer beats, but I'm not one to have somebody I just met come use equipment just because. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The trade-off was a little too soon, And that older gentleman, who's I still think is her father. He was just too old for them to be doing something, but maybe that's just me and ageism.
Yeah, I don't know.
You love who you love.
Yeah, you love who you love.
But the point is, it was never addressed again, and this is basically the end of the relationship.
Yes.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all we get. He leaves.
Yeah, he leaves. He says this, Jem. He says, you are the missionary, and I am the native. Ooh! Because that's exactly what she was doing. She was saying that her equipment and her way of composing and her things were better than his. At least that's how he interpreted it. But me, if I were in her shoes, me being a very open and giving person who wants to share my music with everybody, I would be like, no. Like, I just want you to try to use my stuff because if it makes your stuff better, then please use my stuff. But I think he took it he took it as if she was giving him a handout. And obviously he was pissed about the older guy too, whoever he was.
I think of Big Daddy in the beginning with Adam Sandler. It's like, oh, I didn't realize your father was here. Like, you're sleeping with him? Oh. And I know that's, I don't know why I went there. Kenny was way more respectful. Yes. He wasn't saying the things Adam Sandler was.
You know what's interesting is I felt like the dialogue and the way these people behaved in this movie was way more accurate and way more respectful of everybody versus movies nowadays where people just start yelling at each other and throwing accusations left, right, and center and being very dramatic about things. And there was definitely drama about in this movie too, of course, but like with something like this where he was very reserved and he didn't just come blasting out like, who are you to her? Blah, 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 right? And instead he just has this calm, quiet, you are the missionary and I am the native. And then, bye, Felicia. So the mom picked up the kid from jail, and then and then they goes to the Tracy's show,
which was actually really pretty.
It was really, really pretty. Weird.
I did have a moment of, hey, I've seen that at Country Fair, but there's more like torches and fire throwing. It was very, very artsy for sure.
Very, very artsy. The costumes made me a little uncomfortable. I don't know. Maybe I'm being weird.
Now I can't think of the costumes.
Well, they're basically wearing like bikini bottoms, but made out of like this metallic fabric.
Yeah, they were very like representing very nudist kind of feel, almost like Adam and Eve.
Yeah, there's that.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but there was this a presence to it that I wouldn't go buy tickets for myself. But then again, I would go see Cats. So who am I to say what to watch?
It was beautiful art. My one criticism of that was the flute was out of tune. That's all.
Oh God, I knew it. I knew you were going to say it. You were going to say something about it and you did it. But overall, I feel like this movie did really well for music and your ears.
Yeah, it really
because
did.
If there's only a couple things that you're like,
oh, I loved it.
I feel like this is a win-win.
Oh, absolutely. I would give it a 10 out of 10 just for the music, but I'm not gonna.
There's other things.
Things. Okay, and then we get to the end of everything where we find out how obsessed with white trains Ramon is. I don't know about you, but when they finally got to a point where they were painting the white train, I felt really anxious that they were going to get caught.
Me too. I was like, they're going to get caught.
And
stop
and
it.
I'm like,
don't do the other side.
Is that like just because we grew up in the 90s and the 2000s and all of the movies that we watch nowadays are so anxiety riddled?
I think we just grew up in fear, so that's fine. To be honest, it's just, you know, it's a scary world out there.
It really is a scary world.
And, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was weird how Spit has decided to basically stalk them and get too close.
I want to know his motivations. Like, why? Was that him? Like, what was his story? Why was he doing that? We got no answers.
I know. So basically, guys, if you haven't seen the movie, Spit is caught.
Yes.
Ramon and Kenny are the only two tagging this train, and they catch Spit. So this is where it gets good and almost to the end where they're running.
Yeah, they're running down the tunnels. I was like, oh shit, a train's gonna come.
Oh, that's what I thought too. But no. How did they go, Billy? Take it away.
No, you take it away.
Okay. They wrestle, and they wrestle into the electricity pole on the ground. And I'm guessing with the cans, the paint cans, everything, they fried.
They fried. And
Kenny was smart enough not to grab them.
That was rough because it really sucked because I loved Ramon and I was rooting for him.
Everybody was rooting for Ramon.
He was my favorite, or Mama was my favorite character, but Ramon was a close second because he was the only character with any character development.
Ramon!
This is where I'm telling you, I think Carmen got busy with one of his good friends because after he died, and they were doing the big thing. Kenny does awesome with his ceremony /
celebration
DJ performance.
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to perform how he was, but he decides to go all out and hire everybody, like a gospel choir and all sorts of things to honor Ramon, which I think is so great. But I had questions. Who was Spit? Why did nobody care he died?
Right?
it shows Carmen, one of the friends moving in with Carmen. That's why I thought maybe she had a different baby daddy for the baby.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know either. We just have no answers.
Yeah,
we have more questions than answers.
It makes me a little crazy. But at the same time, an adult movie in the 80s, nothing makes sense. Nothing wraps up nicely for adults. Nope. Come on.
Also, I had one important thing to say at this point. Did you notice that after Ramon dies, the entire funeral and grieving process and everything up until Kenny decides to create this celebration for Ramon, that entire section of the movie, no music, zero music, completely blank. And I was just like, what a stark contrast. What a stark contrast. And I thought that was amazing. That was really great. And then
for it being a musical, I was not expecting that.
I know, right? I just thought it was so poignant. I was just like, whoever made that decision was A+. And then they close in on the "if art is a crime, may God forgive me," which his dad sees later, and
that was sad.
Oh God, that broke my heart.
Yeah, because he only saw him as somebody that does graffiti and didn't appreciate his artwork. Kind of like all of us with Van Gogh. We appreciate you later in life. I'm sorry.
Yeah, after he died. Sorry. I wasn't even there, but whatever. And then the amazing celebration thingy at the end at the Roxy. Again, there was a lot of great poetry in the hip hop music that was going on. And I want to listen to it 100 times because I really want to unpack all those lyrics. But I'm not gonna in this podcast because then it would be 5 hours long and you would all be sick and tired of me.
And we don't have time for that.
But I really loved how it represented not only hip hop, but it also represented breakdancing and
it was very funky, the
funkiness
falling into it as well.
Pictures on the walls of Ramon and his artwork. The Reverend coming out with the robes, gospel roots. Coming in hot. Anyway, so I thought that was a really cool ending. I felt like it could be bigger, but by then I thought it was really cool. What did you think?
I did like how they wrapped it up with Ramon, making that the celebration. So if you don't care about the plot, you're like, yeah, it ended happy and things are good. We just have questions because
so many questions.
That's how we are with movies.
Yeah.
I mean,
I need closure.
Yeah. Why wasn't Kenny and Tracy more defined? Did Lee get anywhere with his breakdance moves? What happened to the baby and Carmen?
Yeah.
Where are all the rest of the parents? Yeah. There's questions.
Even what happened to Kenny next? Did he get a record deal? What happens?
Did he blow it because he did something different?
Yeah.
Who's to say? We'll leave it up to your imagination.
So yeah, final thoughts. Overall, I just felt like the story was really weak.
Yeah, weak story.
Weak characters. Random characters that did and did not have backgrounds. It's just all over the place as far as storyline and characterization goes. But the artwork and the representation of culture of the Black community and the Puerto Rican community in the Bronx in the 80s was just A+. Amazing.
Cool. Are you giving a rating too?
Oh,
that's what I was waiting for.
Rating.
What would you rate it now?
I would rate it at, I'm going to give it a 6, honestly. 6 out of 10, which I guess is kind of in line with everybody else, really, almost.
Feel like this movie definitely had more potential when you were living through it and seeing it for a nostalgic reason. So again, the time period of me watching it now versus then does change it. Yeah, the storyline could have worked on some things there, but it does give you that overall feeling of, do whatever you want to do. But yeah, it's a feeling. However, it was dark, the ending. So I wouldn't have this on in the background. My kids probably wouldn't watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably turn it off before the end.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's things I appreciate about it, but I would probably I'm going to do a 6 out of 10
Yeah.
too. It's just one that it's good for what it is, but also, honestly, I would go back and watch Pee-wee's Big Adventure again because it's just more that silliness that I'm down to take a break from the real world.
Yes. Do you think they could remake this nowadays, or should they remake this? Like, what do you think?
I feel like they're always trying to remake something like this with dance moves. And it could be so many things. There was the Step Up line.
Or like Save the Last Dance, or not Save the Last Dance.
That was one, yeah. Which, as an adult, you would not get into Juilliard with that dance routine,
right?
okay? So, just a heads up. Unrealistic stuff happened in the 90s. So, they could remake it, but work on the plot, or work on the character development, work on the end game, whether Ramon goes or not. It needs to wrap up a little bit more beautifully.
Yeah. And like even out the pacing of it. There was so much happening in the beginning, and then it got so slow by the end that I was just kind of like, all right, what's next?
I was like, all right, I'm ready to pick that next movie.
Right. All right, let's pick the next movie.
Oh, speaking of, I got it right here. You're always nervous. Don't even worry about it.
You know what? I think I'm over being nervous.
As fast as I can.
Oh, God.
You get over it.
Still nervous.
All right, I picked one. You ready?
No.
Yes. We are going to do The Never-Ending Story.
No.
Also 1984. All I remember is the sad pond scene.
I watched it a few years ago, and none of it made sense to me. So maybe this will help me figure it out a little bit more.
Let's rewatch it. Let's see how it is.
I don't think either one of us watched this when we were growing up, right? I don't remember.
We did. There was a time, and that's why I only remember the pond, or the horse. You don't remember the horse? Good God, we'll talk about it next week. Let's give them some information before I start crying, because that's all I remember.
So yeah, you heard it here first. We're going to be watching The Never-Ending Story next week. We'll be discussing. So feel free to watch along with us. And if you have any thoughts, final thoughts, good thoughts, bad thoughts, I mean, please be kind. That would be nice. Suggestions, stories, memories that you have of these movies, personal stories. Yeah. Memories that you have, with these movies. Do you love them? Do you hate them? Like we want to know. We want to know more about you. And, so feel free to email us, and our email address is connect@silverscreensisters.com. And you can also reach out to us on our website, silverscreensisters.com. There is a form on that website that you can fill out, and we will get the message. And until next week.
We'll address the message if we want to.
If we want to.
No, if it's a good message and you address us, whether it's something we did right, we did wrong, or just a story, we're excited to hear about it.
Yes, and we are talking about making listener stories or listener episodes. So if you send in your stories with some of these movies, it would be fun for us to just read them and share them with you guys. So feel free.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, on that note, I gotta go make dinner. Because it's almost dinner time.
Yeah, I got stuff, I guess. So, yeah.
Well, I love you, sister.
I love you too.
We'll see you next
next time. All right.
Love you, bye.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others and leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from us, check out our website at silverscreensisters.com. Silver Screen Sisters 80s edition is hosted by Billy and Sophie. Editing is done by Sophie, and cover art was done by Billy, with special illustration work done by Bacencia. Intro and outro music composed by Future Mono, and hold music composed by the Mini Vandals. This is a Silver Screen Sisters production and is powered by Coffee and Yoga Pants.